Okay, I'm here. I hope you enjoyed the decorative cornucopia of fruits and vegetables. I don't think we're going to use any of these today. But I better get started because we've got miles to go. I'm already preheating the oven, bringing the oven up to 400 because we're going to roast some shells, boil them into stock, use the stock to make risotto, um, and then a side salad. It's pretty much it's very nice, neat little plate we're making. But when I say I'm making it from scratch, I'm making it from scratch. If you've been with me recently, you have probably heard about my unexpected windfall of cheap crab. Well, I ate the crab part of the crab, but I saved all the shells. I'm just breaking up some shrimp. So I've got some. They weren't quite thawed, so they're in a bath. I ate the meat part of the crab, but I saved the shells. They're in the freezer right now. They probably could come out, actually. If you've been with me even longer, hello, welcome in. I'm just giving my brief intro. If you've been with me even longer, you'll remember I had a windfall of lobster, not nearly as cheap, not nearly as plentiful as the windfall of crab, which is here's the shells. But we pulled out I froze all the lobster because I didn't think I was going to get through it all. So we pulled out one of the claws, and it's going to be a decorative claw, but I need to get the shell off so that I can include it in my stock. So that's going to end up being our first step. Oop, bumped my microphone there. But I need to move our decorative cornucopia here. Here, I'll pop back over. Behold, a decorative cornucopia of fruits. We're going to move this stuff, though. Prices of a lot of things are quite good if I shop around. So I picked up a good amount of peppers. I got some avocados for like 30 cents. That pumpkin that went there first is a nice Eaton pumpkin. Look at the size of this lime. One of the biggest limes I've ever seen. They go in my citrus bowl, which is right there. Breadfruit is back. I grabbed a breadfruit. We'll have some fun with that. And one remaining apple from our apple project. Okay. Get rid of that. And move the gentleman. And bring this to the center. So I tried to thaw them gently in the fridge, but they were going a little slower than I was hoping. So we've got them in here in there. Nice cold water bath just to get the ice off of everything. I don't think you need to roast shrimp shells before you make stock with them, so I'm not going to bother with those. But I want to get that guy. It's fully cooked, so he doesn't need to cook at all. But I need to get the shell off of this guy without mangling the meat because I want the hand part there to be sort of a decorative topper. So and we also got it. There's also some in. They call it the knuckle, the arm here that we need to preserve. It can go right there. I actually want a second board out. So this is my first tricky bit, and we got to do this first because the lobster's shell needs to be included in our stock pot. So they graciously already sawed this, so it should be pretty easy if I can find that's the break point right there. If I can find the breaking point to get this off without totally mangling the meat inside. But the trick is getting the thumb part to slide out without breaking. Where's my big knife? If you hear any whooshing and rattling around, we're supposed to have a storm rolling in pretty much right now. So, oh, okay. Don't want to put too much pressure on the blade, but you're supposed to be able to crack the tip there, which lets air get in behind the thumb. To have a better cracker. Ooh, actually, maybe it's not meant for this, but this little that part, I can lever it. Got it. Got it. Okay. And then the shell pops off. And we just gently, gently, gently. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, but I sure would like for it to work. Come on. Come on. Oh, that guy. We're just going to dice that part up, so I'm not worried about getting that out in one piece. Normally I would break the thumb off, but then you then it tears away. And oh, shoot. Well, it broke in part because of the cut weakened it. I guess I get this out the old-fashioned way now. Oh well, I'm not gonna get another one just for that. Okay, there's my nice perfect thumb. Well, I suppose I can sort of reconstruct it there. We can pretend later. Shells. Here's the rest of the shells. These are snow crab shells. A rare treat these days because the snow crabs are dying out and we shouldn't be eating them. Hey. Oop. Good timing too, because my oven just clicked, indicating it's hot. Once I get these scraps out of the arm here, I've got the tool for this, and I should be using it. It's a tiny shellfish fork. Just for getting in those little bits. Okay, okay. Let's grab a tray. and lay out our roastables. We're going to move this entire thing, because it's going to come back as is later, so that I can show off. So these are just all the shells from about 3/4 of a pound of snow crab that I got at an extreme discount due to a labeling error. As you can see, they're all split open because I've had an enjoyable meal in which I sat and dug them all out with that same little shellfish fork, actually. A lot of these cartilage strips in crab legs as well, but they will be fine because we're going to end up straining this out later, so even if those bits go through, no harm. You won't swallow a weird bit of crab. That fills that tray pretty nicely, so I guess I don't need to supplement with any of my shrimp bag, so we can save that and do a shrimp stock at some other point. I save and freeze all of my shellfish shells. I don't often get the more expensive shellfish like this, lobster and crab, so this is sort of a special treat. But I do get shrimp tails and stuff, and I throw those in. And for these heavier shells, you want to give them a real quick shock in the oven. I've got the oven at 400, and I'm just going to roast them for 10 minutes. Just quick little zap in the oven. For shrimp shells, they're so thin, I wouldn't do that to them. I would worry that they would burn because they are so very thin. 10 minutes is a good amount of time for me to shell the remainder here so that I can get rid of this bowl of water. So while the lobster was fully cooked, these shrimps are not. They're going to have to get cooked along with the risotto a little bit later. But I want their shells. No sense in wasting their shells. Their shells are going to get thrown into our stock as well, so I want to get the shells off. A lot of people just throw out their shrimp shells, not realizing how much, or all their shellfish shells, not realizing how much flavor there actually is in the shell part. Now, you obviously have a hard time eating the shells because they're rather hard and indigestible. But it's pretty easy to extract the flavor by making a stock out of them. And they also freeze extremely well. Since there's no meat left on them at that point, there's no worry about freezer burn. There's nothing to freezer burn. It's all just hard chitin. And calcium carbonate. That's what the hardening element of many shellfish shells is. You'll also find occasionally, if you go looking, go hunting, powdered shells. I've seen powdered shrimp shells in my local grocery store. And that's just they take shrimp shells, roast them off, and then grind them into a fine powder, and they add this rich shrimpy flavor to whatever you add them to. Let's pop over to the stove. Set up my pot. We're going to use this pot because I'm not making a huge batch of this. I don't need a big stock pot, even though that's literally what a stock pot is for. We'll start with the shrimp shells that we just pulled out. Ooh, Felix, you're first. That reminds me. That reminds me. Also, welcome in. Oh, that reminds me. I actually don't have a water ready. Where's my bottle? There's my bottle. I don't have a water ready for the inevitable moistening. Oop. Okay. So the shells of 7 shrimps are in my pot. I'm going to add to them 6 cups of water. Two. Why 6? I'm not sure. Maybe not 6. Maybe should I do 4? I want to get an appropriate amount so that I can use all of the stock that I make in my risotto. So if I make a half cup of rice, then I need 2.5 cups of finished stock, which means I need to overshoot a bit because we're going to lose some through boiling. So I've currently got 4 cups. I think I'll stay at 4. I think I'll stay at 4. If it's too concentrated, I can always save some of it. Or I can make a slightly bigger batch of risotto. But I think half a cup of rice, dry rice, is pretty generous serving for one. Let's get rid of our big bowl of raw shrimp juices. And get out some small prep bowls. You could even do smaller than that. Get out my prep bowls because these guys are all going to need a quick prep. I want nice small pieces of shrimp, so we're gonna take the tail off of each one. Oop, didn't cut through. And then split them right along the line where they were cut in prep to make them half size. Right where the poop chute used to be when the shrimp was shrimping it up in the ocean. Or I suppose these shrimps were shrimping it up in a shrimp farm in Vietnam, probably. These are not any free wild shrimps. I'm still working through a backlog of cheapo farm stuff that I bought when it was on super sale and stocked up. Okay. Split in half, and then we're gonna give them a little mince because I want lots of little pieces of shrimp in every bite of the finished product. Rather than big, obvious chunks of shrimp. Yep. We need to pay attention to my shells too. We don't want them getting burned in there. That would be a super shame. So I'll try to do this quickly so I can go check on them. Because my concern is that 10 minutes might actually be too long. Snow crab is a relatively thin shell compared to like a lobster or a king crab or those big, tough customer shellfish. And these little taily bits are also going to get split. Nice. That is already cooked. Okay. Set the shrimps aside. Rinse my fingers off real quick. Let's take a peek in the old oven. They smell hot. They don't smell terribly fragrant. They were all already cooked, so that's probably not surprising. Let's get this burner started, and I'm gonna put them in there, and then I'm probably gonna eyeball if I need more water or not, because I want them to be reasonably well covered. In fact, I'm gonna yank them now. They've probably been in there long enough. The roasting is supposed to help express some of the flavors in the shells. I haven't done a lot of testing with it, and I don't do it with shrimp shells because, as aforementioned, they are very thin. But then we just stick it in a pot. Now, the other thing with these is you don't want them to come. We do need a little bit more water in there. I've got a little bit more action going on than I have water to pick it up. So they actually smell a lot more fragrant now that I've got them out. But we do need some more water because they need to be well immersed. Now we need this to come up to a simmer, but only just. We don't want this to come to a rolling boil. That's too much. That will do something. I think it makes it scummy or cloudy. We're putting ours into a risotto, so I'm not sure that matters as much. If you were making like a fine sauce, you would want your shellfish stock to be crystal clear, so the finished sauce doesn't have any off colors to it. French, blah blah blah, French. I'm someday I'll do proper French cookery instead of what I usually do. But that is not today's, not this day. I want to get this out of the way. So we're going to move our kind of intact lobster claw. And our little bit of bonus lobster meat. There's also juices on the board here, so I'm going to scrape those juices into our stock pot so we don't lose any flavors. Okay. I need to watch this. We're gonna take a moment to watch our stock pot boil. You know what they say. A watched pot always boils faster. We're going to take a moment before I dive into anything else that's going to really grab my attention to watch our. I'll just put these things out here. To watch this because we want to catch it before it starts to really bubble and turn it down to just simmering. And then I can start prepping other stuff. Because it's going to have to sit and broil for quite a while. So I want to get it there. We've got the heat up, so it'll get there quicker, but then I need to turn it down so it can sit there and broil away. Fortunately, shellfish stock does not take nearly as long as like a beef stock or a chicken stock, those bone-based ones. The shells are much thinner. They extract much more quickly. It's still not a lickety-split fast thing, but like if I was making a chicken stock, I'd probably put it in my slow cooker and let it chew on that all day. As for the shellfish stock, we're going to try to have it in there for about an hour, which is why I wanted to get going on it. And that should be a full extraction. You really don't want to have these go longer because there's other stuff in the shells that will start to dissolve if they're in there too long, and then you'll really get gunk and scum in your stock. We're going to get some anyways because there definitely aren't very clean shells. There were little bits left in there that I didn't quite get to. Let's turn this light back. Oh, let's actually, before I do that, I'm going to wash my big knife because it had raw shrimp all over it. In fact, I'm going to wash everything that had raw shrimp on it so that I don't accidentally touch anything. Neat. I usually don't do the cleaning during the show, but we do have a little bit of time because of the stock. So I may as well, at this stage, wash off the obviously raw food covered stuff. Okay. Yeah, I do need to just kind of stand and wait for this to come to a simmer before I move on. So that's what we're going to do. Strap in. It shouldn't be too long. I can already see it starting to agitate a little bit. All the action is going to be on this burner all day. So no worries about that. That's already cooled off. I will move it to the sink. So we did end up going with 6 cups of water, so I've got quite a lot of stock, which means I could probably do a full cup of risotto. And then have leftovers. That wouldn't be objectionable. I like leftover risotto. Okay. I'll judge how much I've got before I dive in on the finished product. I don't have any new stories, really. We've already covered the windfall. This is mostly crab shells from a bag of. I've told this a dozen times already, but I'll tell it again just in case someone's coming in and wondering where did I get all this crab. Um, at my local grocery store, they're selling crab. They're having a seafood special right now. So crab and lobster and shrimp and a little bit of tuna, a little bit of salmon. Not honestly, it's not a huge variety, but I'm way inland, so that kind of makes sense. So they're having a seafood special. Um, I think there's a crab and lobster are popular around Christmas. Um, so they're selling it by the pound out of the butcher case, but also they've got some that are pre-bagged and ready to just grab and go. Um, somebody punched in a label wrong, and instead of it being labeled at $9.99 a pound, this one lonesome bag of snow crab legs was labeled at $0.99 a pound. So I got 3/4 of a pound of snow crab legs for 70 cents. I would have been sad if I had paid full price for these. They were not the nicest in the world. Um, they were rather shrimpy, but at that price, I was more than happy to make off with them. Then they honored the price at the registers, so it's not like I skulked away with them. I didn't even have to talk to anybody about it like I did with that alligator. Okay, we're starting to show some bubbles, so I'm going to bring this down to a 5 on my dial, which is medium low or a low medium. Because again, we don't want this to rollingly boil. We want it to slowly bubble, slowly simmer. And then we'll look at it periodically as stuff floats to the top and try to skim away any little scummy bits. Okay. Check my clock, because I'm going to count now as my start time for that, how long that has to sit there and bruttle, because it's just started to bubble. And we will concoct, well, that needs to be washed because I used it to crack a shell. We will come back over here and start prepping. I have not yet done anything with the alligator. It came frozen in vacuum sealed packages. Here it is right here, in fact. Alligator. Although now I notice there's a tiny bit of freezer burn forming right there, so I should probably use this one soon, because it looks like it doesn't have a perfectly secure air seal. So we definitely should get to it. I held on to it because I didn't know what to do with it. Since it was in these vacuum sealed packages and frozen, I figured it would last, but last until I figured out what to do with it. So I have not yet done anything with it. I don't have any ideas yet. I will have to. Obviously, come up with something for that one package at least. I think we're going to do a full cup just because of the amount of stock that I've got together. So let's prep our rice. If you're not familiar with the story of the alligator, I was shopping, as I frequently do, and slowly perusing through what they had on offer. I don't think I want a full 2 cups here. Or a full, it's not 2 cups, it's a half cup. So I think I want a 3/4 cup. Yeah, I'll put that part back because of the amount that there was left in there. And also, it's quite a bit of risotto, so we're gonna divide that down a little bit. Story of the alligator. I was perusing the store, as I am wont to do, and I noticed 2 packages of alligator in the fish section with no prices on them and no labels nearby. So I went and asked how much they were. And the attendant at the butcher counter said they're not in the system. They have no price. They were not logged at all. They had and ultimately I asked if I could have them, and after confirming with another person at the meat counter and 2 people at the front counter, they decided that sure, I could just have them, since they apparently were not for sale from that grocery store, and they did not know how they got there. It was a bizarre exchange. Cutting board. I'm prepping stuff. We have time. So that was the story of the alligator. They were perfectly sealed when I got them, so I must have nicked this package here in the freezer. Because the other one's not damaged at all, and I know they weren't damaged when I got them because I examined them closely. So I must have nicked it here in the freezer. It probably froze onto something, and then when I pulled it apart, it damaged the packaging. So I guess that pushes us towards having to do something with our alligator. We're going to need some shallots. We're going to need shallots for 2 things, because there's shallot going in the risotto. I'm just going to use this large shallot for that. And then there's going to be also shallot in our side salad. So we have some shallot to prep. Oh, but don't worry. I would definitely not deprive you guys of the alligator. That's going to be something I do right here. Thank you for the moisten. Oh, that's moist. Oh. Have you ever started drinking something and then just suddenly midway through realized how incredibly thirsty you were? Like you poured yourself a glass of water just to have a glass of water with you. You took a sip and then you just downed the whole thing because until you took that sip, you didn't even realize how thirsty you were. I do that all the time. And I'll be like, damn, I'm thirsty. Probably shouldn't let myself get that point. It doesn't seem super healthy. We're going for a mince here. Oh, I should have done the garlic first. You too, Saizan. Well, we should both be better about that and drink water before we get to that point. Sounds like our storm is moving in. I can hear some buffeting. I ran out of bird seed, and I saw the report that the storm was coming in, and I ran out to grab a bag of bird seed, fill up my feeders, so I don't have to go out tomorrow in it. You may notice I have not added anything aside from the shells to that stock. Oh, and it's getting a little frothy over there. We're going to have to skim it in a sec. I'm of the opinion that when you're making a stock, you should mostly just have it be the thing that you're extracting. All the various aromatic vegetables just turn to mush, and you can get the same amount of aromatics out of them by adding them to whatever you're making with the stock. And if you end up using the stock for something that doesn't want those aromatics, it's nicer to have them not in the stock. This is a big shallot. It's nice to have them not already in the stock, in my opinion. Let's get out some garlic too, because we're going to want some garlic. Got a little knob of a middle one there. Otherwise, we're going to have to break into one of these guys. The forecast today, and does it still say it? It says, earlier it said, coming sleet. And now it says, sleeting now. Delightful. These are the little shrimpy garlics that are in the middle of one of those big heads. Let's see how much I actually get out of them before I crack into one of those. I wish I had a big garden. I could grow my own garlic and just have heaps of garlic all the time. I have a small garden, and it's not good for rooty things. It's good for herbs. At least 3 heads of garlic. I am often of the opinion that more garlic equals more gooder. Today, I'm going to restrain myself. But I'm going to... Also, if I eat all my garlic now, I won't have any garlic. This is all the garlic I have in the house, is these, what you see before you, other than garlic powder, which we're not using today. All fresh stuff. We're making a from scratch. If I had a properly sized garden plot, I could have grown everything that I'm using today from there, including the crab. It'd be a pretty big, weird garden plot to grow my own crab, but I'm sure I could manage it. People keep Arctic marine backyard gardens, right? Gotta be. I would use my tube, but when they get this small, the tube kind of has a hard time grabbing onto them. We're also doing our garlic well enough in advance that it's going to have time to... I'm going to crush it up. It's going to have plenty of time to develop its garlic flavors and be nice and pronounced in the finished dish. I haven't said that in a while. I used to say that every time I got out garlic. When you're using garlic in anything at all, crush it up at least 10 minutes before it goes on anything hot. The lovely garlicky flavor that we all lust for constantly is not found in the raw clove. It is found in the crushed clove, because there are 2 chemicals that combine to create it. And they don't do so instantaneously. They take a few minutes. And they are very heat sensitive. So if you just mash your garlic and throw it directly into the heat, you lose some of that garlicky flavor. Whereas if you mash the garlic in advance, the strong aromatic garlic flavor that we're all after, chemical called allicin, no relation, is quite heat tolerant and persists in the finished dish. Not heat indestructible, and it's also volatile, which is why prepackaged garlic and powdered garlic don't have that sharp, fresh garlickiness. You lose that freshness within a day. So don't crush your garlic too far in advance. I wonder if there's ever been experiments to try to preserve that fresh garlicness. I wonder if it's even possible. I wonder if preserving it would ruin it because now it's no longer beautifully aromatic. Food for thought. To go with the food for everything else. Haha. Okay, let's get my mini scraper. Scrape. I don't want to lose any of that stuff. Okay. And that, I think I want more now that I see it. So I'm going to take a clove out of a new head of garlic here. We're going to get rid of this old stuff and this rubber band. This is storage garlic, hard-stemmed garlic. It's not called storage garlic, it's called hard-stemmed garlic. And it keeps better. Something about the hard stem helps keep it. The stuff with the soft stem that kind of goes all wilty, those also tends to go off faster in storage. Keep that in mind when you're buying garlic for long-term storage. If they still have their stems attached in the grocery store, they frequently don't. They destem them, and all you get is the look at the skins on these guys. But good to know. This particular garlic I got from the farmer's market, and it's still good because it's been in a dark, cool place, and it was the right kind of garlic with the hard stems that really resists spoilage in storage compared to the other kind. I learned that from my dear old father. He grew lots of garlic. Really giant heads of garlic, too. I remember we had a meal entirely of bread, roasted heads of garlic, and sharp cheese. And that was it. That was the meal. Sounds like heaven. Okay, these guys I should have used my peeling tube because they're nice round cloves, which is exactly what the peeling tube is for. But oh well. Oh. I think I've got my. I was just glancing over at my shellfish stock. I think I got my temperature just right. I'm getting a few scattered bubbles here and there, which is just what I was looking for. a light simmer. Lurkers are always welcome. I should get a lurk. Oh, that's what I should do. I don't yet have follower emotes unlocked because Twitch takes forever to unlock basic things, and I am only doing 2 shows a week at this point. So they're like, you should do more. We'll unlock more stuff if you do more. But that'd be a great pick for a follower emote is lurk, because then all you have to be is following me, and you can say lurk with a little picture. I have not designed any new emotes because I'm unlocking them relatively slowly at this point. But I should probably take a little time and draw up some new ones so they're ready to go, since my first batch took so long to approve when I finally was able to use them. Okay. Garlic. That's plenty of garlic. Plenty of garlic. There you go. Lick your finger. Go, wow, raw garlic is sharp. Ah! And then move on with your life. Don't forget to rinse off your grater. Garlic is very sticky. It doesn't taste like it, but it's got a lot of hidden sugar in it, which makes it very sticky. And we're gonna need that grater later. So I'm actually going to dry it on the towel fully. Oh, my bruttle is coming a little bit stronger than I was shooting for. We're coming back over here. My occasional bubbles have turned into frequent bubbles, so I'm going to turn the heat down just a smidgen. And I'm going to try to skim very gently. We don't want to stir this. I don't know why, but I have been told that we do not want to stir this. So we're going to attempt with a wooden spoon here to gently skim away this foam. Because again, I've been told that you're supposed to do that. I think it's for cloudiness. Because anything that's capable of forming bubbles is capable of forming visible particulate in the finished result. So we'll just take that foam off of there. Okay. Maybe a little bit warmer than that. What else do we need? We have rice. We have shallot. We have garlic. We have parsley. I don't want to drop the parsley too early We have our black pepper. I'm going to go with black pepper because I don't have any white pepper and I don't really care about the color specs. Our accompaniment for our shellfish risotto is going to be a salad. So I guess I will slice this shallot so that it can be in our salad. This one I don't want to mince up. I want nice, thin slices. So we're going to try to get it peeled without splitting it in half, which is always a challenge with an onion. And shallots are basically pink, tiny onions with very thin layers that people say taste different. People frequently here in chat tell me they taste different, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm not sold. But they're pretty. They do taste like onion. Here's what I should do. What I should do, since I'm always saying I don't think they taste any different, I'm going to taste a slice of raw shallot. Okay. You're right. It's different. It's burning my throat a little bit. Ugh, about to make me tear up. Strong sulfur flavor, but it's got this sort of lovely, almost floral, almost like a melony sweetness to it. Okay, well, that's why we test. That's why we test things. Yeah, you told me. You tell me every time. It's got this lovely sort of faint sweetness to it. I don't recommend eating shallots raw like I just did. Kind of burns the back of your throat. I'm going to mince up this little end part. This is where the root was attached. And I don't want to bother with making little thin slices. I'm just going to throw it into the mince. Okay. Make my eyes water. Okay. Let's get out a little dish to hold those until I need them. We're going to have our mise more plossed than I've ever mised a ploss before because of the time it takes this stock to become stock. I will literally be able to throw everything I want. It will be just at hand. There'll be no scramble. I could do. Yeah. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep doing stuff. You may remember this from the other day, especially with that weird flat patch that I couldn't quite zest. It's that lemon that we zested the other day. I would like to use the lemon juice from it today. It's all crusty and dry on the outside from where I zested it, but it should be reasonably juicy on the inside. Oh, it gets really hard. Oh, it's a tiny bit dried out. We'll see how much we get out of it. Doesn't look great. Been sitting there for a few days. Where's my reamer? Reamer? I hardly... Okay. 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 Still quite a bit of juice in there. It just looks a little creepy because the outer layers were getting dry because the zest is full of oil. The oil makes the zest, makes the outer layer of the skin waterproof, so that it does not, the inner parts of the lemon don't leak moisture. I zested it, so it started immediately leaking moisture. I'm sure the lemon would say hi to you as well, Saizen, if it were not currently being reamed. Reamed. Okay, and then I want to strain the pulp out of that, because I'm looking for just the juice of this lemon. I don't have a miniature strainer, so we're going to use one that is definitely too large for the job. And then you can eat this part. Mmm, lemony. Rinse out the strainer real quick. We're not going to... we might use it later. But some nice clean lemon juice. Fresh from the lemon. We got quite a bit of that lemon. I thought it was going to be a little bit less because it had been zested and was starting to dry, but we got a good amount. We're making a lemon vinaigrette, which is technically the right name for this thing, but is also a misnomer because there's no vinegar in it. The lemon is the acid standing in for the vinegar. So it's more of a lemonette. Rinse the larger bowl out because I want to make the dressing in that bowl. And then this can stand for a while. It's not like it's going to go off on me. It's going to be all acid and oil and a little bit of a few other things that don't go off, like mustard. Okay. 1 part lemon. And lemon juice is less intensely acidic than vinegars. So we're going to go with a 1-to-1 on this. Because also lemon has a nice strong flavor that I would like to come through in the finished product. I do not know how much either of those are. Juice of 1 lemon, equal amount extra virgin olive oil, and a little bit of mustard. What else goes in a vinaigrette? You don't usually get too complicated with these things. Lemon vinaigrette. I want to put garlic directly in there. And salt and pepper. Pep. Salt. Garlic. Salt and pepper, garlic. Tiny whisk. It's your time to shine. Tiny whisk needs his own commands and emotes. It's on the list, but I don't know what exactly to do with it, which is why we haven't done anything with it, even though I have upgraded my sound system. Okay, give it a taste. Very mild. Very light. That's good. I'm looking for light and mild at this point, because I know the risotto is going to be strongly flavored, or at least what I'm shooting for is strongly flavored. Let's set the vinaigrette. It just needs to live on the side somewhere where I won't bump it or spill it or drop anything in it. I should have all these tiny bowls where you can see them, so you can see them assemble. All the tiny bowls assemble. What else goes in a risotto? Risotto, just generic. Rice, wine, olive oil, which is going to be part of the end bit. Cheese. That's right. That's right. I did predict that I would need the grater again, and it was specifically because I knew I needed cheese. As long as I'm prepping everything in advance, we'll just keep prepping everything in advance. What we have here is an American Parmesan. It is not Parmigiano Reggiano. It is American Parmesan. Because American Parmesan costs about a third what the imported stuff does. And what you're missing out on is paying those import fees. Um, unlike wines, I don't, in my opinion, I'm not an expert, but I eat cheese. But in my opinion, unlike wines, I think the region has much less impact on cheese. I am the sous chef. I think region has much less impact on cheese than it does on wine because there is so much additional process that goes into cheese after you collect it. That should be plenty of parm. Let's assemble all my tiny bowls so you can see them. Parmesan, shallot, rice, vinaigrette, mashed garlic, sliced shallot, minced lobster meat, partially intact lobster claw, minced shrimp. Now, I kind of want to put a little bit of mushroom in there too. I was just showing off. I was purely showing off. I'm going to move them all again because I need to use this space. But just an image of what I've got assembled over here. Stage left. We're getting there. We're getting quite the lineup. Well, I wish I had a sous chef and a saucier and a patissier and all the EAs. You know, because then what the head chef does is just design the menu and design dishes, write recipes. The head chef gets to go out and schmooze with the important guests that show up to the restaurant because there's all these other chefs cooking along. Oh, somebody followed me. Thank you. How many minutes ago was that? I can't even tell. 14 minutes ago. Thank you so much for the follow. I had that box tabbed out. I didn't see the update. I'm sorry. I apologize. Mushroom. I was about to do some mushroom. I'm gonna throw a little bit of mushroom in here. This is already gonna be pretty rich, so I don't want a ton of mushroom. So we'll just grab some of the cleaner looking ones. A couple of the less dirty looking ones. I'm gonna go quick give them a rinse. I am not of the school of thought that you must never rinse your mushrooms. Some chefs say you must never rinse your mushrooms. I'm not going to soak my mushrooms, but I think giving them a quick rinse off, simply because they do grow in filth, there's a whole industry, in fact, that produces sterilized manure for use in mushroom farming because they need it, but They need it, and they don't need it to be gross. They just need it to be manure-y. Um, what do you mean, Felix? I missed when you said that. What were you? What the fucking at? Sorry. Family friendly. Bleep that out. Um, I'm using a towel to dry them because I don't want a puddle. The tradition, the French tradition of mushrooms is that they are cleaned off with a tiny brush. Thank you for bleeping me, and welcome in, Metaniel. Um, the French tradition for mushrooms is that they have a tiny brush that they clean the outside of the mushroom off with. Because if you were to wet it, it would become waterlogged and lose its flavor. And I'm pretty sure that was written in the era before running water as well. So they would have washed them by immersing them in a bath. Which, in that case, yes, they probably would take on a noticeable amount of water. But if you're just rinsing them under running water in the sink, they're not going to take on any appreciable amount of water. The other thing I've seen is, and this one's actually starting to do it itself, if you can catch this edge, the outer layer forms kind of a skin, and you can peel it away. And that's the other traditional option, is just to peel that outer surface off because it's filthy. But yeah, it's one of those French things. It's one more fiddly French thing. Honestly, the filth on modern mushrooms is all sterile because they produce sterilized manure for mushroom growing specifically. And there's so little of it on there that you wouldn't even notice it unless you were eating them like raw. This knife is not the knife for a mince. It's got this the wrong shape to it. This is a slicing knife, which means I'm actually going to swap out for the other knife. This curvature here lets you rock it and pass it through a little pile like this very quickly and easily. The more you know, and knowing is half the battle. I'm running out of tiny bowls. One never runs out of tiny bowls when one has ramekins. I'm not going for visible mushrooms. I'm keeping an eye on my time as well. I'm not going for visible mushrooms here, so we're going to the caps will shrink up more than the stems and are also less tough to begin with. So we don't have to be quite as delicate with them. But yeah, that used to be there used to be a job in old French, like traditional French kitchens, was someone really low down, a new cook just inducted into the kitchen. Their job would be to take a little. need to get a no slip for the bottom of this thing. We take a little tiny brush and meticulously brush off the mushrooms without damaging them. Because the era all of our French cuisine originates in was the era when the aristocracy was out of control and it was just this, how much more pretentious can we make every little thing? Because before then, people were just eating the mushrooms with the filth on them and not caring. You know. Okay, mushrooms. With quite a lot of mushroom, actually. It'll shrink up quite a bit in cooking, but I perhaps should have selected only 3. Since we're not making a mushroom risotto, we're trying to make a shellfish risotto. Okay. I think I've got all of my ingredients that are prepped. Yes, the slightly pre-guillotines. I should taste the stock for concentration. We've got a little bit of time left on it before I would take it out. It's very mild. I suppose I didn't salt it at all. Definitely has picked up quite a bit of flavor. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. I think we're going a little bit too slow on it. I think we're going a little bit too slow on it. Don't want to agitate it. We also have lost a noticeable amount of our liquid just to steaming off the top. It's quite mild. It may be slightly too mild, honestly, which is why I'm turning the heat up. We're going to give it a slightly more vigorous simmer for the remaining time here, because I was hoping to use it soon. Because, yeah, there's no more things to prep. That was actually a good amount of time. Everything else I had to prep is approximately the right amount of time for that, but it's a little bit milder than I was hoping for. And I don't have anything else to work on right now. Well, when you've got some time to kill, get out a bottle of wine and a glass, and then you take them off camera and you do some mysterious magic with them, and then you return a filled glass of aged grape juice. You don't have to be quite so coy about it on Twitch, but YouTube has some weird rules about aged grape juice. You can't hear me. I'm still picking up sound. Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? What part did you not hear? Okay, must be on your end then. My sound mixer hasn't blipped at all. I have dropped 32 frames total, so maybe I don't know when that happened. It's not a lot of frames, um, but maybe. All my stuff says I'm still good on my end. Um, keep an eye on it. I've got my mixer up, so I should be able to see if it drops out. Um, we've got good signal. Okay. Well, I'm not sure. There is some weather moving in, so maybe that's doing something. Who knows? This is becoming more fragrant. I think I had it on too low of a temperature before, which is unfortunate because I really would like to be using it right now. We don't need this bowl or the skimmer anymore because I haven't had any more scum. That is the strainer pot, so I can strain it directly out of that pot, which is good. Um, oh, hey, I forgot to ask because I've futzed around with my ad settings, but of course I never see the ads. Have I been playing ads, or did I screw it up and it doesn't play any ads at all? Only people who aren't subscribed would be able to answer this. Um, so, question for people who aren't subscribed: Have I ever played an ad for you? Have you been seeing any ads at all? Um, I know when I first started up, I had it screwed up the opposite way, where it was playing ads for subs, which was lame. And I thank you for it, Felix. You're doing the Lord's work. Because I should be playing 5 minutes of ads every 15 minutes. I'm kidding. That would be excessive and unwatchable. Um, let's give this a quick taster again. See if it's coming along. Still very mild. Hasn't been that long since I tasted it last time. Oh my goodness. Shining Spear, thank you for gifting a sub to Sizan. Sizan, welcome. Enjoy my pittance of emotes and my possibly ad-free viewing. I'm not sure if I had ad-free viewing already or not. And thank you, Shining Spear, for generously gifting a sub out to a complete stranger on the internet. Um, I had hoped to not reach the point that I'm at right now, where I'm doing a little bit of a standing around before we get into the dynamic cooking part, where I actually make the risotto. Um, but I've run out of things. I've run low on things. I can show off some of my produce. I had a cornucopia laid out here for the few people who show up to see my pre-show screen. What's that star? Oh, oh, 1 month subscriber. I need to make those too. But I had a little cornucopia laid out there, and I can show one thing that I found back in stock. Everyone's favorite. Breadfruit. Behold. It back. I guess this one's a little bit damaged, so we can't wait too long on it, so I'm going to have to use that soon. Exciting. I love this stuff. I was sad when it disappeared. Apparently, it either went off or all got purchased, and I just had to wait for more to get shipped in. That'll be exciting. I love that stuff. We're not using it today, so I'm putting it back. But I love that stuff. I was reading about breadfruit, and I found a recipe for del curry from Sri Lanka, the primary ingredient of which is breadfruit, or whatever the Sri Lankan name for breadfruit is. Which I can't remember off the top of my head. So we might try that. Okay. Add a splash of water to my stock, turn the temperature up. Oh my goodness, look at all those little emotes. So exciting. Well, I don't need anything on the board over here, so I guess I will take advantage of that fact and lay things out for ease of use as I get to them. We need the shallot first, followed by the rice. No. The shallot first, followed by the garlic, followed by the rice, followed by the maybe the mushroom first? Shrimp, cheese, lobster, lobster. Butter. Which goes in right at the end. Salt, pepper. When you guys make risotto, what herbs do you put in it? Come on, bon appetit. What do they suggest? Rice. No herbs. Bon appetit includes no herbs. They also include no anything else's. This is plain risotto, which is shocking. Let's get out our pot and dab it with a little olive oil. I've heard of thyme. Oh, chives. I have chives in the front. I will put chives as a finisher. Good thought. Parsley too. Parsley and chives are both good finishers that I have available. They don't get cooked in, because they would just kind of fall apart. We've already got a lot going on in here. Most of it's shellfish and alliums. Okay. Since I need the front burner, and I think the stock needs a little bit more time, I'm actually going to start. We're going to come back over here. We're going to start. And I'm going to do the thing that I said I wasn't going to do, and we're going to finish the stock on the side while I start everything else before I'm hopefully so the stock is ready in time for me to be ready for it. I'm starting with these mushrooms because I want them to cook down. Quite a bit. And to go with their cooking down, we will add our first pinch of salt. I should be using sea salt for this. But I want to use up my kosher salt before I transfer over to sea salt. I found a brand of pretty nice sea salt that's cheaper than the kosher salt, and it's kosher sea salt. Here it is. Kosher sea salt. And it's cheaper per pound than the plain kosher salt. So I think it's going to be my go-to salt for a while. Okay. Mushrooms, medium heat. We're going to get them cooked most of the way down, extract their delicious umami into the pan. Which the salt will help do. The salt will extract the liquids, the water, in the mushrooms more quickly so that it can evaporate quickly as well. We can get these guys rolling. When I'm adding mushrooms to a risotto, you should always do the mushroom part first because of this exact thing. The mushrooms have a lot of internal moisture that you want, and you can already see it. If you can't. It's a little bit too far away. It's starting to pool. You can kind of see it if you lean in. It's starting to pool around the mushrooms as they bleed out their delicious juices, and that will help them shrink up. And I didn't salt my stock at all, in large part because I want to be free to salt the main dish as I go. And I don't want to have this then be full of salt, so when I add it in, I'm this big glut of salt coming in. Because salting vegetables as you cook them helps them express their moisture like this. And yes, I am aware, mushrooms are not a vegetable. That's why I like them so much. I enjoy food that has feelings. Mushrooms have feelings. Um, anyways, um, the eternal sadness of being a mushroom. Um, I don't have to go through the difficulty of selecting a plate today because I pre-selected my plate. We're going with brown. Oh, here's something you shouldn't do. Never touch your face when you're in the kitchen. You never know what's on your hand, and also you never know what's on your face. I say as I touch my face. Uh, oh, that reminds me. You remember Iron Chef? The original Iron Chef, the one in Japan. Everyone wanted to go up against Morimoto. He always selected Morimoto because he was the Japanese chef, and it was a lot of Japanese contestants, so it made sense they wanted to test themselves against. The heck? No, it's the storm buffeting my house. They wanted to test themselves against the Japanese chef, but they had a Japanese chef, a Chinese chef, and a French chef, and sometimes the French chef would get selected. And he had this like shoulder length hair that looked like it had never been washed. And while he was cooking, he would run his hands through his hair to pull it back out of his face. And it was just like, buddy, you're a professional chef on TV. Maybe don't do that. Okay, our mushrooms are nicely shrunk up. So we will add our shallot. And get that going. We don't want to brown the shallot, so I'm actually going to turn the temperature down a little bit. We don't want to brown the shallot. We want it to go translucent and fragrant. Well, that's the thing. He wasn't a French. He wasn't a French person. He was a Japanese. He was a Japanese French chef. And I don't know if it was just like part of the show, like oh, the Japanese thought that the French were all unwashed. I don't know. He almost was never picked because there were very few French contestants showing up, so you rarely saw him. That was a fun show, though. And then they brought it back in America, and it wasn't as good because they didn't have the guy who, the host, who picks up a bell pepper and just takes a big old chomp out of the side. Okay, I'm going to add my garlic. Our garlic is very finely mashed, so it should become fragrant almost immediately. And it will also burn very easily if I let it. So, stir until fragrant. It's fragrant. quickly add rice to move on to the next step. Dry rice directly in the pan. Let's get out my strainer lid, because I'm going to do this in a slightly cheating way. So this lid for that pot has little strainer holes right on the edge that line up with the little spout. So instead of transferring it, I can just pour bits of it in here. But you don't do the stock first. You do some wine first. And I frequently, when I'm making risotto, forget the wine, because you're supposed to put it in first so that the alcohol has a chance to all cook out before you get to the... where'd my cup measure go? Before you get to the end. So we start with half a cup of a dry white. Same one I'm drinking. Oh, sorry, I'm drinking aged grape juice. This wine is only for cooking. But you put the wine in first because you want you don't want any of that raw alcohol flavor in here. You want just the aromatic parts of the wine. I have a nonstick pan I'm using. If you were using more traditional all steel or perhaps even copper cookware, the white wine would be there to deglaze the pan as well. Pick up any bits of shallot and garlic that have stuck to the bottom, because those little stuck-on bits are filled with flavor. Okay, let's get stocking. And we're adding it in bits, and I'm hoping that it's got a good amount of flavor to it. Toward the end, I'm going to add the shrimp because I don't want them to be overcooked. But I'm going to cook them directly in the risotto, not separately. This risotto is a main dish risotto, not a side. So I am attempting to go pretty hard on it and make it quite hearty and flavorful. If this stock isn't as flavorful as I want it to be, I may have to try this again with my bag of shrimp shells. This is entirely shrimp shells. I've also got... Ooh, I should have thrown these in. Aw, darn, I forgot these were in here. I have 2 old lobster claw shells as well. Those would have been perfect to throw in there. Oh, darn, I forgot they were in a separate bag. Okay. When you're making risotto, the goal is to have a nice, smooth, creamy... It's actually a little bit too warm, probably. A nice, smooth, creamy thing. So once it's thick enough that you can push through it and it leaves a blank space on the bottom of the pot, you add some more liquid. I think I may have cooked down my stock a little bit too far as well. And you're supposed to stir it constantly to ensure that all the grains of rice get equal exposure and don't stick to the bottom, and the whole thing is nice and even because we want the starches to dissolve out of the rice grains into the broth. And it, by the end result, it's supposed to be so creamy that it's as though you've made a cream sauce out of actual cream, but it's only just from the starches in the rice. And each individual rice grain is cooked all the way to the center, but only just so that they are nice and tender, but never mushy. And so that you can still tell them apart, that they're individual grains of rice. It's all very fussy. We're almost there. The trail kind of disappears a little bit faster than I would like it to. Sorry, I just went silent because I'm mesmerized by my own stirring. I hope you are as well. So they make devices so that you don't have to sit and stir risotto yourself constantly. Personally, I think that stopping every once in a while is okay. You don't need a literal continuous stir, but they make a little thing that it clips on the edge of the pan, and it's got a little arm that goes in the middle and just goes around solely for the purpose of you don't have to sit and stir your own risotto. I mean, you could use it for anything, but it's meant for that. Oh, thank you for the moisten. Mm, moist. Um, and I think it's about time to moisten up our risotto as well with another. Oh, the lid is getting toasty. With another dose. I think this might be our last. Nope, there's still some in there. You're supposed to get 5 times as much liquid as you have dry rice. 5 times as much stock as you have dry rice. And then an equal amount of white wine as you had dry rice. So 6 times the liquid, although the white wine cooks off very quickly because it's alcohol, and you put it in first. So it's really 5 times the liquid to dry rice. That's your risotto. And you could theoretically do it with water. It would be kind of a bland risotto if you did it that way. When we get our final dose of stock, I'm then going to put the shrimp in as well. So they can help infuse that final dose with a little bit of shrimp flavor and also cook in it, since they're still pretty raw. And then we will move into the final phase. Of course, risotto isn't even a French thing. This is an Italian dish. I've done a lot of referencing the haughtiness of French cooking, but risotto is Italian, and the super traditional method of making it, which I'm roughly adhering to, is also not the way they make it commonly in Italy. It's the way you get it if you go to a fancy Italian restaurant. But if you're at home and you want a risotto, They don't portion out the liquid like this. They dump the whole amount of liquid in with a whole amount of rice, and they stir it until all the liquid's gone. And if any of the rice is, they stir it around a bit. They don't stir it constantly. And if any of the rice is a little bit firm still, they're like, that's fine. The real people on the ground who eat these foods are never as fussy about them as the formal recipes, the official things, because those are all made by aristocrats that have all long since met a guillotine. And they're delightful recipes, but if you really want to put in the fuss around them, they're delightful recipes, but you don't need to put the fuss in around them. The non-fussy versions are also quite good. And since this is a main dish risotto and I want to serve it on a flat plate, I'm also going to attempt to cook it to the point where it thickens into a porridge that can kind of stand up so that I can serve it on a flat plate instead of in a bowl, which is another perhaps a little bit fussy thing that I'm putting on myself. Looking pretty okay. I'm going to throw the shrimp bits in now. Get in there, shrimp bits. Stir them through. And then add what is probably our final dose of... Oh, no, there's more in there than I thought. Okay, we'll keep going. Let me use all of that. Oh darn! I should have checked first. The shrimp might be a little overdone now. Good thing I didn't throw the lobster in as well, since it's already cooked. I felt like there was less in there than that the last time. I should give it a shake to make sure. Okay, we're just going to add all of it. I'm going to skip ahead and add all of it. Okay. That needs to simmer down a little bit. And then we add our cheese, our already cooked lobster. The claw is going to be our decorative topper. I'm going to skip town for a week or so. No, I'm going to walk into the front room for a moment here to retrieve some fresh chives. Chives. One more chive. Oh, that one's all dried out. Bad chive. Better chive. I was going to bring scissors back with me. Because it's the easiest way to add chives to things is just with a little scissors, since they are so very small. chives. My chive plant has been looking quite sad, and I think I may need to stop harvesting from it soon, at least until it gets through the darkest part of the winter. We're about a week and a half away from the shortest day of the year, and all of my plants that aren't native to this part of the world are looking rather sad about it, and all of my plants that are native to this part of the world gave up months ago and lost all their leaves and went to sleep. So I think they had the right idea among plants. I also was going to have parsley, which almost knocked over my cheese, which I'm going to need to chop up real quick. Parsley. I used to think parsley is just leaves, right? It just tastes like leaves. But it's really grown on me. Now I'm like, yeah, leaves. I still think it kind of just tastes like leaves, but nice leaves. I'm not using the stems. You can use the stems whenever you put parsley in something. You typically don't want to put the stems in at the same time you put the leaves in because the stems are quite fibrous. But if you put the stems in early, they cook down and they add quite a bit of flavor because they are an herb and they have the same flavor as the leaves do. Make sure this keeps getting stirred. It added quite a large dose of liquid there at the end, and it has a good chance of sort of separating itself out. And going volcano-y on me, which I don't want. We're not adding these parsleys early enough to worry about the stems, so I'm going to just discard the stems. But be aware, they can be eaten. You just have to give them a slightly more care. I mean, if you don't care about them being kind of fibers, you can throw them in whenever. We're also going to reserve one parsley leaf for a delightful plate garnish. Delightful. The parsley is actually going to go in the risotto, but right at the end. Just enough time to sort of wilt it down a little bit. Not to fully cook in, turn to mush, and not be raw. Just be a little bit wilty in there. If you're making this at home, first of all, I suggest making the stock separately from the actual risotto. And I would also probably make the stock in the slow cooker, because then you can set it, let it go for 2 hours, and then use it the next day. I still wouldn't do a stock all day. Shellfish stock would get kind of gnarly if you cooked it down all day, but recommendation for home cooks is do these as separate elements. As for these shells, now that they're all cooked out and flavorless, they can go right in your compost bin. They are nice, tasty compost. They add a lot of calcium to the bin that you don't get from most of the vegetable matter. Same reason you throw eggshells in there. They don't. The heavy shells like lobster and crab don't break down quite as well. Shrimp shells will break down quite easily because they're very, very thin. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. I do think I may have thrown the shrimp pieces in here a little bit early. They're probably going to be slightly overdone. Although this isn't a very hot cook, so they're not getting like grilled toasted. But they might be a little bit chewy. I should taste this for seasoning as well, because we're coming up to among the last moments when I can add more seasoning to it without messing it up. So, okay. It needs a little bit of salt. I'll remind you, I had no salt in my stock, so I'm in control of all the salt going into this. If you're using a pre-made stock, they are frequently heavily salted. Pay attention to that. But tasting as you go, I will notice that I was quite pleased with the flavor, but I'm not going to extol its virtues at this stage. You will have to wait for the official finished tasting. But let me tell you, I think we are heading towards a win. Get that stirred in there. I also noticed the rice is actually a teeny bit hard in places still. Much better. Okay. Still a little bit of cooking left to do on this thing. To enhance the creaminess. Oh, I should have added this first, because there's salt in the Parmesan. I forgot about that. Ooh, okay. Well, mix in the cheese. And then I guess we're going to give it another taste. I might need to rebalance it if it ends up going too far. I didn't heavily salt it because it was almost unsalted previous to this. And Parmesan, although it is salty, is not extremely salty, so it's hot. Mmm. Ooh. Oh, delightful. Heat down, please. Okay, okay. The Parmesan is all melted in. We are going to throw in a few other things. Black pepper goes in quite near the end. White pepper if you don't want to see black specks in your finished dish. Also, white pepper tends to be slightly more peppery than black pepper, but has less of the sort of fruity, floral overtones. But throw it in quite at the end because the aromatics in the pepper will burn off if you throw it in too early. Throw in our pat of butter and our minced up lobster meat. That's the meat from the elbow wrist area that we had right at the start. It's already cooked, so it doesn't need to be cooked anymore, and I don't want to overcook it because lobster's a pretty delicate meat. Get that pat of butter well melted in there. Throwing the butter in at the end is very much a French technique. It gives it a glossy finish. It's called mounting the sauce. They do it in sauces in French cooking called mounting the sauce. It has a French name that translates to mounting the sauce. Heat is actually going to go off completely now. And I'm going to stir my parsley through it. I don't think putting the parsley directly in there is a typical thing, but I wanted little green bits in my risotto today. We're thickening up quite a lot. It's very, very thickened, which is good. We want it to be nice and robust. Get out my plate. We're going with brown. Brown without the olive motif today. I know the olive motif is super popular, but I want the plain brown today. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna let this, the heat is off, so as the temperature comes down a little bit, it should finish thickening into its final form where it won't puddle out on the plate. Which is what I'm going for. I can already kind of push it to the side in here, and it stays mostly, which is what we're looking for. Okay, so home stretch. Home stretch. The risotto is as done as it's going to be. It just needs to cool off a smidgen because it is literally boiling hot. I'm going to take it off that burner because that burner is giving it some residual. We will get out my side salad ingredient. I picked up, here's a brief story. There's no non-organic arugula at my grocery store. And I wanted an arugula salad. However, that's rocket for you in the UK. I learned that recently. I don't know why they call it rocket. However, the price of organic arugula is the same price for the same quantity of non-organic other greens. So I'm not sure what the point is. I like this. It's a better salad green than lettuce. It's going to give us a nice sort of herbal, peppery flavor, which will be a good counter to the heavy, rich risotto, which is why I selected this and why I wanted a lemon vinaigrette, because again, the lemon, the zinginess of the lemon should give us a nice acidic counterpoint to balance off this heavy, creamy risotto, which I think is just about set up to the point where I want to scoop it out. So, our main event risotto. Which hold its shape on the plate. Our slightly damaged, but it's still good. It's still good. Decorative lobster claw. Our parsley. Our fresh chives snipped right over the top. Oh, there's my little dry tip. The chives get little dry tips right on the point of each leaf. You don't want those in your food. On the other side of the plate, an arugula salad. Not that one. It's still edible, but I want this to be a very pristine plating with fresh, thinly sliced shallot, and a drizzle of lemon vinaigrette. And what the heck? Call an audible at the last second. Some lightly crumbled walnut. Want to call another audible at the last second? I'm calling another audible at the last second. One pass of cheese. And there you have it. Shellfish risotto with an arugula salad made from all raw ingredients, most of which was making a stock for an hour. I think that's the front. Oh, you know, I don't have a lemon wedge, but I think a lemon wedge on the back would look very pretty as well. Right there. But I used all my lemon. So I can't do a lemon wedge. This needs to take pictures. We need to take pictures of this before I do anything else to it. So bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. Jumping to the other room. We're jumping into the even further other room because I had to take my tablet up there because I couldn't access the internet this morning through my PC because the internet crapped itself. Oh. And my glass. Oh. We've got a new chatter, but I will be back momentarily to talk to you. Welcome in. You've come just in time for the final finished product and then the tasting. Although, pretty confident in this one's flavor. Taking a whole bunch of snaps of this. This plate has a definite front to it. So, not a lot of turn and take picture, turn and take picture. We're keeping the front to the front. Coming back, coming back, coming back, coming back, coming back, coming back. Karina8811 or Karina8811 or probably just Karina. Welcome in. You're just in time. Here's the finished product, which we need to give a taste to. And of course, I'm going to start with the side salad. A nice peppery arugula flavor. A little bit of crunch, a little bit from the walnuts, a little bit of sharpness from the shallots, a little bit of brightness from the lemon and the vinaigrette, but also a lovely sort of floral oliviness from the extra virgin olive oil. A delightful little side salad. And our main event. Let's find the prime spot. Get a little bit of everything in there. Not gonna lie, I'm not surprised by this one because I did taste it at the end there. The shellfish stock was very, very light in the pot while I was making it, but it concentrated down as it was absorbed into the rice. And it gives this lovely, mild crab flavor, just sort of suffusing through this. And then there's these little chewy, they're a little bit chewy, they're a tiny bit over because I think I added them early. They're these little nuggets of shrimp that then give you a little burst of shrimp flavor, which is slightly different from crab flavor. Very similar though. The mushrooms are just, since they went in so early and they've cooked so long, they're just sort of this underlying umami booster. Same thing with the cheese. You can definitely tell the cheese is there from the creaminess of the finished result, although a lot of that is from our work stirring. It's lovely. It's lovely. It took us 2 hours, but honestly, 2 hours is not that long for from scratch all this stuff. It's lovely. I wish I could share it with you, because it's really a. Let's try that little fresh pizza lobster right off the top. I got that little thumb, and I love lobster. Again, lobster is just slightly different from either shrimp or crabs, which is just a little variation. The piece on top obviously got less cooking because I just kind of rested there as a garnish. So it's got more of that sort of fresher, slightly brininess to it. Well, it's been an adventure. I see I've gone a little bit long, and many of you have not stuck with me, but that's fine. Um, for those of you that have made it this far, congratulations. You've made it this far. Um, this one's really good. Um, I didn't follow a recipe for this either. This is just how I make risotto normally. Now, the ingredients, the mix-ins and stuff, are whatever I happen to have for that particular risotto. But the technique, this is how I normally make a risotto. Um, so if you have been following along, this is my method. We just went through it. This is my method for making a bangin' risotto. You can do it with any stock you like. I chose shellfish because I had those crab shells. This would be great with mushroom stock, vegetable stock, chicken stock, whatever you've got. Really, the biggest thing is putting the things in the right order and taking the time to be gentle with it. Don't just dump it all in. Anyone can do it. It's not hard. It's just a little time consuming. Speaking of time consuming, we've crossed 7 o'clock, and I would like to eat this while it is still piping warm. So let's go see who is live that we can bug, which I can do by muting the tab and taking a peek. We're gonna go see LaFay again. We always go see LaFay, but we're gonna go see LaFay again, who is playing Potion Craft, which is, I suppose, tangential. Alchemy is like cooking. I need new friends. I need more friends who stream on Tuesdays that I can jump into. Anyways, thanks for sticking with me through all of this. It was fun as always. The storm has been rolling in and sort of buffeting the side of the house here. And I keep looking over and getting distracted by it. And I've got quite a mess. All those tiny bowls that have all the ingredients in it now must be washed. But I have one of the finer things I've made. I knew this one was going to work out. This was more of a, I've got a thing to use up, and I'm going to go through technique rather than a dive in wild experiment type of day. Honestly, I should have taken off first playthrough. Although technically, this is the first time I've made crab stock. Usually I make shrimp stock. Anyways, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sticking with me. It's been a blast as usual. And I'll see you next time. I'm just going to wait for the timer.